Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to bring you the basically second video to my EK Ignite Elementalist League starter, and this is a first timer for me. In all these years of like playing PoE, doing like my 20th or 21st league that I'm going into, I've never done anything like a starting POB or like early items and stuff, leveling trees and all these kind of things, but you know, I followed on the comments and everything, the feedback that I got on my previous video where I just showcased the league starter, my plans for the league start. And a lot of people have been asking me for leveling POBs and so on. So there you go, link is in the description. And I want to go over this one with a different level trees to just give you guys a brief overview on how I'm going to approach things. And here is a big disclaimer here, okay? I just want to mention, it's my first time I'm putting up a leveling POB. I'm not a racer. I'm nowhere anywhere close of being professional in like leveling or league start thingies here, right? And this is very important for me that you understand that there might be better ways of doing things. There might be stronger early builds, you know? In the end of the day, I don't think it matters too much if like, my goal is to go EK Ignite. Is EK Ignite a league starter? No, it cannot even be, because you need the conversion, you need certain items, so you're not gonna league start EK, but the plan is to go EK as early as possible. We're gonna start like Wave of Conviction or anything else until we have things like the conversion and those kind of things going, and this needs to be tested, and I'm going to do that on league start, okay? I have not league started this build. In this case, I have not tested it because I just don't see a point for myself to do that, because I want to keep all my hype for the league start, and I'm just going with the flow and keep you guys updated along the way. Good, this is out of the way, so I would say let's go over what did I do here. So first thing is the leveling tree. We're gonna go over these first. So I would say level 22 here is my first thing, which is basically no labs. It's literally just going over here, LE overload, the fire nodes here, some chance to ignite over there, because we need the chance to ignite before the labyrinth. One big thing I want to mention here, because I see that very often, and it's about spell damage, okay? So a lot of starter go over this route here with cast speed is also an option if you want to do that, or here with spell damage, and here this is like a no, okay? Reason for that is a lot of people think that spell damage increases ignite damage, but this is not true, okay? There are skills that have a modifier, for example, Essence Drain, or I think Flame Wall 2 and stuff, or Cold Dot builds. The skill gem says modifiers to spell damage also affects the damage over time of this skill or something like that, right? Then, yes, but EK, Wave Conviction, and other skills just do not have that, okay? That means that spell damage will increase our average hit with a skill, but will not affect our ignite. And this is very mandatory to know, because let's assume you're leveling, right? And you have like, you picked up two different wands or a scepter or something. One has like 60% spell damage and the other one has like 60% fire damage, for example. So most people say like, yo, it doesn't matter, it's both 60% increased, it's the same kind of modifier, so we don't care, right? But this is not true. You want to go for fire damage, because fire damage will also increase our DPS, but fire damage, increased fire damage, fire multi, whatever, will increase our ignite damage, and we're playing an ignite build. Spell damage only affects the on-hit. In the leveling section, I'm not saying that spell damage is useless early on, because we're not gonna have insane amounts of ignites, you know, so even the Wave of Conviction on hit damage while leveling is pretty strong. And if you're just standing there and spamming Wave of Conviction to kill whatever, and like Val's Oversoul or the Vessel or whatever, you know, you're gonna definitely feel that. Okay, so earlier on, spell damage is fine. So if you get a wand and to be like, oh shit, there's 20 spell damage on it, so I cannot use that because MBX said no, it's not good, right? Early on, it's not that that big of a difference, but the further you go, try to pick up generic LE damage, increased elemental damage, increased fire damage, all these kind of sources. Good, this should be somewhere in Act 2, Act 3. We're gonna go over the skills in a little bit. Then the next step, I would say, is after the first lap. So as you guys know, the Shaper of Flames is mandatory for this build, and this is also the first thing that we're going to pick up. What it does is we don't need chance to ignite anymore, and all our hits or all damage can ignite. Even our physical damage can ignite, our cold damage, our chaos damage can ignite. This will be a massive boost in damage. And honestly, as soon as you've done the first lab, I think there should be no damage problems until mapping. And I think this is a fair take because this is how strong it is when you combine that with other sources. And here, important to know is we can take here some increased like Firewalker, Lightning Walker. That is basically, no, Lightning Walker here. This was correct anyway, sorry. Because this will both affect Wave of Conviction just because of the gem tags that we're gonna have here, which is Fire, Lightning, Spell, AoE, Duration, and Physical. The good thing about Wave of Conviction and why it is that strong, in my opinion at least, it comes with a built-in exposure. Exposure is very strong. It basically lowers the enemy resistance in the easiest take, basically. And our second lab will also give us a 25 additional exposure strongness, whatever word, you know, like strength, basically. So here is the thing about EK versus Wave of Conviction. Wave of Conviction does have exposure. Exposure on Elementalist is very strong, but EK does not provide that. That's why we have in the endgame version, we're gonna have gloves with the Searing Exile Eater of Worlds implicit that inflicts fire exposure. This is a massive boost to damage. We're not gonna have this early on. I think in the early takes with Brimsorrow going with the 100% fist to cold conversion, this is already EK style, okay? This will give us the base conversion until we later on can get it with the Watcher's Eye, with the cold mastery, and then we can swap out to rare gloves with the fire exposure implicit. That's gonna be a massive damage boost, but this is a League Starter POB. I don't expect anybody to have fire exposure implicit gloves on day 2 or day 1 of the league, right? So I want to be honest here. Good. So we talked about that. Once we go into Wave of Conviction, that would be like, I don't know, somewhere Act 2, Act 3, you know? Then we're gonna get the Fire Mastery with physical damage converted to fire, and since we have the first lab, we can unspec the chance to ignite nodes here and over here. This one is still not bad because it has increased ignite duration on enemies, but I think it's not too mandatory. I would say a good ignite is somewhere about 4 seconds. It can be 3.5, it can also be 4.5 or 5 seconds ignite. This feels like a dot build. And the increased duration element is going to be better later on once we are starting to stack Ignite to inflict deal damage faster, okay? So early on, I think the base duration of Ignite is 4 seconds, so that's totally fine if you have like 1 or 2 sources of increased like faster ignites or increased duration like over here. Absolutely no problem, you still be in the right parameters, I would say, okay? But as I said, this increased, there is like later on, there's going to be a juggling a little bit, right? Oh, I have way too many faster ignites, my DPS is insane, but my ignites only last 2 seconds. Get an unbound ailment support and start stacking some increased duration of ignites to counteract a little bit. But I think this is more of a future, a later mid-game kind of version. Good. Other than that, what we do here is taking some life notes over here, and go down here to Divine Judgment, increased ally damage, very good. Maybe some all resistance as the mastery, never wrong to do that early on. Bandits, we're gonna kill all, we wanna have the 2 skill points. You can also take Alira early on, it helps on League Start, but I highly doubt this is necessary. It's always easy to just go to your hideout and slap on some resistance and open suffixes to fix your resistance early on. And we're not going to have negative 60 all res based on killing Kitava in Act 10, right? We're going to be somewhere early on. We're not going to have any downside. So getting res capped in the acts shouldn't be a big deal. Good. The next step, so this is basically what you do after lab 1. Then we're going to go over to the second lab, which we basically then take Mastermind of Discord. And now we're going to start going a little bit further down the road. Jewel slots are always questionable. You can take them if you have a jewel. If not, then just don't take them. They're usually quite easy to take just because here it's 2 skill points, here it would be 2 skill points, here it would be 2 skill points. There would be already 3 jewel slots for 6 skill points, which would be definitely a thing, right? Good, what did we add? We added some mana reservation efficiency on the left and right side because this is the time, level 40 or level 60 basically, when we're gonna have more options based on our auras. And usually you go then Eldritch Battery, so this basically lets our energy shield save our mana, and that's why we can reserve everything, right? And since I not only want to run like Determination, Herald of Ash early on, which you can do or will do, we still need some form of mana reservation, so we can use like Determination, Hatred, and a Herald of Ash, and still be able to cast our stuff based on Eldritch Battery. I highly recommend to not take Mind Over Matter, okay? Mind Over Matter and Wicked Ward is something that goes a long way with the Eldritch Battery in the later stages, okay? All you're gonna find out once you go Mind Over Matter that you're never gonna have Energy Shield to cast anything. You're never gonna, like, you know, there is a dot on you and you're screwed, you know, an Ignite, a Bleed, whatever it is, you're just gonna drain all your Energy Shield. You'll not be able, you're just gonna run away from monsters and hope that your energy recharge kicks in so you can actually be able to cast something. So this is, Mind Over Matter is risky. Eldritch Battery is super fine. It's actually really cool, and that you then have like a 200-300 energy shield to cast your spells. Then you can replace your mana flask. It's absolutely no problem. Other than that, some more life nodes on the left and right side. So we're starting to develop our endgame tree basically for EK Ignite. Then let's go over to the last one. This is like a level 82 tree with the Cruel Lab done, so no Uber Lab, right? I think Uber Lab takes some time, takes a bit of better gearing, but here is one thing. At level 60, this is a Wave of Conviction style, okay? And at the level 82, this is like early mapping, you know, low tier. And if you wonder like, hey, 82 or 81, like what the hell, you know, this is nowhere close to like low tier. This is already like mid or high tier. No, it is League Start. You're not gonna have infinite maps to directly send your character to yellow tier maps. You're not gonna have leveling gear to increase your damage output that you can instantly go high tier maps and be like, yo, level 82, I do this in like 5 minutes or something, right? No, you're gonna grind your way up T1 maps, you're gonna complete T2, Tier 3, T4, and on League Start you're gonna be kind of curious on how good the experience is, basically. And you're gonna be like level 80, and then you start to go yellow tier maps. So don't. That's why I made like a tree somewhere around 80. What are the additions? What did we add? We added here the practical application as well as strength and dexterity nodes that I will mention in a second. Again, when it comes to attribute requirements. Now we have more sources of energy shield. We have like almost 1,000 energy shield. Now we can take Mind Over Matter, as well as like finishing off this Snowforged wheel here with the increased effective non-damaging elements. We're gonna go Wicked Ward now. We're gonna take all the Herald nodes early on and have our Heart of Destruction. And this is already an EK tree. So we spec'd out of the physical to fire conversion, and we took the physical convert to cold, which is not necessary as long as you have the Shrimp gloves, as long as you're playing with that, because you're gonna have 100% physical damage converted to cold damage, right? So this is like, yeah, it's actually better to just not take that at all, but it's not 100% needed to have 100% physical conversion, right? If you run like 80% or 95 or whatever, you know, it's still gonna be better than no conversion, okay? I'm gonna test this even further. I'm not sure when I'm gonna do all the conversion stuff and how everything pops together. But why is it so important to actually go our physical into cold? Why don't we just go physical to fire for ignites and stuff, right? And our key item here is gloomfang. Gloomfang is what makes this build so insanely cool for bossing and increased damage, right? Projectiles that have chain gain 30%, or with catalysts up to like 42% of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. What that means, once we run EK and our Hydrosphere, we get the +1 chain from the Gloomfang, so our EK projectile will bounce, like fly to the, will hit the Hydrosphere and then bounce to the boss and get this extra damage. And here the important thing is, this will happen, this non-chaos is extra chaos. Non-chaos is physical, fire, lightning, cold damage, right? And when you do conversion, it will take this extra, you will get the extra chaos damage from your physical, then you convert into cold, then it will take the extra damage from cold, then you go cold to fire support, it adds a portion of cold damage as fire damage and converts it, and we're gonna get the extra damage from gloomfang again. So we are double, triple, quadrupling in the damage aspect of gloomfang, and this is kind of the similar way as an Eternity Shroud works, and that's why Eternity Shroud builds are like one of the strongest DPS output characters in the game, just because of all these like conversion, and every time you convert into an element you get this extra chaos damage, you get this extra stuff going, and that's why it is so strong. Good, then I would say let's go over, talk a little bit about the key aspects here and the gearing department, right? I try to keep this POB as simple as possible and as cheap as possible, because this build seems to get meta already before the league has even started. I know a ton of people that said, yo, I want to play this build, it looked insane, what do we need to do, how do we get there, right? This has the bitter taste that some items might be ridiculously expensive from the get-go. So it is very hard for me to tell you guys, oh, this is budget, take a gloomfang because it's like 15 chaos. I cannot predict the market. In the worst case scenario, gloomfang could be a 50 chaos item, you know, but it could also be a 50 divine, not 50, but 5 divine item, you know. So it is very hard for me to put in here unique items and stuff where I cannot predict the market. And if I say this is a league starter, this should get you going even in solo self-found, then gloomfang would be already the first question mark item. I'm not worried about Rimsorrow gloves. They will be a chaos or a 2 chaos or whatever early on, right? Obliteration will be 1 chaos, maybe 5 chaos early on, right? This will, maybe it starts with like 4 to 5 chaos, the first obliterations that drop. But if you're chilling, if you're like not like playing 20 hours a day and try to be as fast as possible, then you're gonna get your obliteration one for like a chaos or 2 chaos, right? So I'm not worried about that. A tabby will be the price of like, I don't know, a couple chaos, or even if you can self-farm it, or like 20 chaos in the start. But I think 20 chaos is something you can easily farm in Blood Aqueducts. You can do like some heisting, you know, like what is 20 chaos? A couple hours on league start, and you will have that probably passively from the new league mechanic. But gloomfang, as I said, could be 10 chaos, could be 5 divines. And if it's 5 divines, then it's like big question mark for myself, right? But as I said, obliteration, when it comes to the rare items, I just put in life resistance, some energy shield. Here as well, boots just with movement speed, life resistance. So, you know, it's not crazy items here. It's just solo self on life resistance, and there you go. You want to get res cap, don't worry about your chaos res early on, because this needs higher investment. The more stats you want to have on items, the more expensive they're gonna get, right? But here I want to mention something, and this is energy shield. Since we are using Eldritch Battery, we are using our energy shield as our mana, basically, right? Since it covers our mana. And we are playing with a Divine Blessing setup here, right? So let me put this one up here when I find it, Hydrosphere. Here, this one. So we run Haste, Malevolence, Increased Duration, Blessing Support. So when I put over here with the Malevolence over here, for example, you see that the mana cost is 738. So activating those blessings cost a lot of mana / energy shield. How do we get there? Well, you could take Discipline, but the problem is with my current aura setup, I'm running Determination, Hatred, Herald of Ash, and Vitality to a point that I can still like reserve it, basically, right? Getting in a Discipline doesn't work, because if I just, let me say, disable this, right, and we throw in a Discipline, you're gonna see that we're gonna have negative mana. Even if I would take here the Discipline has increased mana reservation efficiency, I cannot reserve that. So, to counteract that, and I'm not gonna put in an Enlighten level 3 or any, like, thing that makes it fake, like anointing charisma, you know, that would be an easy solution, but it's double golden and an opalescent oil, and this will be like 2 divines, 3 divines, I don't know. And this, I don't want to like fool people by, yo, my auras do work in my POB, and then you have things like an charisma anointed or an enlightened level 4 in your POB on your league starter, and you're like, bro, Enlighten level 4? Are you serious? There's a 15 divines gem, like, you're not gonna have that, right? So pure honesty here, I think determination, hatred, herald of ash, vitality as long as you can go. And therefore, to counteract that, we need to get over 700 energy shield just to be able to cast our blessing auras. And we do that by taking energy shield bases. We're not going to have a ridiculous amount of armor, we're not going to have evasion early on, but what we need to fix first is our energy shield. So with things like, I don't want to like mention here mind cage, you know, because I know people are going to search for mind cages now. Take any energy shield source, okay, and try to get it pure energy shield. Reason for that is, if you take items that are hybrid, like armor energy shield, you're only gonna have like a 50 energy shield on this item, right? If you take pure energy shield items, you're gonna have a lot more, like on the helmet, a 220 roll, and this is just like a flat ES and the crafted percent ES, right? Other than that, like Arcanist slippers, anything, you know, that just gives you energy shield, as well as the belt, which is a chain belt for the ES. And even better later on, a crystal belt maybe, because this will easily fix your energy shield, and you need to get your energy shield higher than your mana cost on your blessing skills. And once you have this blessing skill enabled, you want to make sure to take the reservation mastery, and non-curse auras have 50% increased duration. This will make the duration of our blessings a lot longer than they used to be. I think it's like 12, 13, 14 seconds, but with this note here, it's like 25 seconds. And the way we're going to do is, while mapping, throw on haste for more movement speed and stuff, more cast speed. And if you like damage, then you just put in malevolence, right? But since we're not having enough mana reservation to have this permanently, and I think hatred is like way more important for this build to be permanent, while we can swap around malevolence and haste for just like, do I need speed? Take haste. Do I need damage? Take malevolence. For example, map bosses and all these kind of things. If you do general bossing, then obviously you will always activate your malevolence. Just make sure to keep it up. So this is the first important part: energy shield, the blessings, and how to counteract that, since we cannot run discipline early on. Another big step here is stats. Since we're running determination, since we're running hatred, since we're running something like swift affliction, right? They all need dexterity, and on the which side of areas, where do we have dexterity? Right, nowhere. Strength, nowhere. Okay, we have a shit ton of intelligence, that's no problem, but the other two are going to be a problem. The easiest ways to fix that is taking those 30 nodes here on League Start, absolutely no problem. You don't have access to rings that have like double 40 stats or something like that. But here, 2 points, 30 strength, 30 dexterity, easy to fix. As well as this node, I think this is actually pretty good. It gives you 10 all res and 20 strength and dexterity, and we need both, and we are starving for that. And you're gonna find this out once we go into endgame, that you're always gonna lack strength and dexterity, you know? And you don't want to like spend those points, you want to try to get them on gear, and you most likely gonna fix that, or a lot of that, with cluster jewels later on. Like, I remember my large cluster has like all attributes, my medium clusters has like +6 to dexterity, or +5 to strength, or +4 to attributes, right? So the cluster jewel setups are going to be a thing to fix your stats later on, but this goes more into min-maxing. In the worst case scenario, for an additional 3 points, you can still allocate physique and alacrity for getting more strength and dexterity, right? You're gonna notice that early on with the strength problem on determination, and you're gonna notice the dex problem later on when you add something like hatred or a swift affliction or anything that requires a lot of dexterity. But I think personally, I hope I've done a halfway decent job with explaining like the tree and how I'm going to approach things. So as I say again, level 22 is basically our pre-first lab, fireball, whatever you want to do, right? The first lab is then wave of conviction starting, second lab wave of conviction, and then we're gonna go into mapping, and then we're gonna start using things like the cold aspect with the conversion, once we have Brimsorrow, once we have Gloomfang, and so on. Good. I also included here my Wave of Conviction setup, which is basically Wave of Conviction with Ignite Prolif or Ally Prolif early on, but Ignite Prolif is better once you hit like level 38 or something. Added fire damage, combustion, unbound ailments, everything works, a Swift Affliction, you know. Don't make it too hard on yourself on choosing the right support gems at any given point. I mean, I've been testing Ruthless, for example, and I hit level 15 Act 6, and I still don't have a 2-link, okay? So don't worry, I personally think that having the first lap with Wave of Conviction should be enough damage to get yourself into endgame, or not into endgame, but into mapping. So campaign-wise, it shouldn't be a deal. Good, if you want to go something else than Wave of Conviction, then please do so. It's not mandatory to go Wave of Conviction. I personally just think with the built-in exposure and the conversion masteries and stuff, it is a very easy skill. Press one button, the wave goes out. It's not limited on how many targets it can hit. And as I said, it afflicts the additional exposure. And with Mastermind of Discord, you're going to feel the power spike. But if you want to, take EA Ballista, take, I don't know, Armageddon Bryant Ignite, take anything. As long as, what I recommend, if you want to go EK, pick which is your starting and play any other Ignite build, because they are all the same basically. Like the difference between like skill tree wise and item wise between EK and Wave of Conviction for me is basically just like 5 points in the skill tree and support gems, you know, with cold to fire support. But that's it. There's not like a complete different tree, a complete different leveling aspect or anything like that. Just make sure that you're going to pick something that you maybe have played in the past, but still Wave Conviction is a League Starter friendly build and can get a long way. Good, and as the last part of this leveling explanation thingy here, I want to go over my personal take, what I'm going to try to do. As I said before, I'm not a specialist in like leveling and so on. I will try to go EK as early as possible. That means as soon as I have my Rimstar gloves, I might actually give it a shot already. I would assume, not tested, I would assume that Wave of Conviction will be still stronger because of the exposure damage, right? But if EK feels solid and I'm having like 10% less damage than Wave, then I don't care. I'm still gonna stay because I just like to play the skill that I planned for the end game. But there is always a plan B. There is always a step back. If I feel that the skill is garbage early on, if I go EK on like level 35 or whatever, and I feel, dude, this is terrible, I just swap back and Wave of Conviction and stay as it is, you know? Like, there is... Don't get me wrong here. Wave of Conviction is always your safe pick, and as long as you get, as long as you cannot run EK in a proper way that it deals the same amount damage or more, or having the clearing aspect and all these kind of things, just go one step back and maintain or keep playing Wave of Conviction. Wave of Conviction is a proven thing that can get you into endgame, right? And then it's just based on, okay, what is the next step? Oh, I need gloomfang. So there might be, if I find it this way that I'm going to play on League Start, if I say I tried Wave Conviction as EK as soon as I got the gloves, but it feels not good, then I just go back Wave Conviction and farm up a gloomfang, and once I have gloomfang, then I'm gonna try it again. And if this doesn't work, then I'm gonna try getting an Series Promise and try it again, you know? At some point, we're gonna have the EK equivalent to the Wave of Conviction, and then it's about the scaling aspect going into mid-game that the EK will heavily outscale the Wave of Conviction. But I cannot, like, I don't know when this point is going to happen. I'm just going to try it out and keep you guys updated in my daily update videos starting on Saturday, one day, or the night after League Start, basically. Good. One thing here, since I posted this one in the last video where I said, like, okay, what are we going to pick up? Oh, we're going to play Fireball, we're going to play Flame Wall, we're going to take Clarity Vitality, we're going to take Herald of Ash, and so on, right? Here's one thing. Some people mentioned that you cannot use Infused Channeling on Holy Flame Totems. Interesting. I don't know. I think I did this, like, when I played it in the Mayhem event and stuff, and I think it worked. If it doesn't work, the thing is, who cares? Honestly. Like, you know, as soon as you have Wave of Conviction somewhere like 1 hour after League Start or even earlier, nobody cares about what you did in Act 1. Nobody cares that you played Fireball or did you default attack if you had a Holy Flame Totem. We're still gonna have Flame Wall basically for an additional single target, but that's pretty much it, you know? This is like one of the first things you're just gonna throw out anyway, so, you know, it doesn't have to be a 100% perfect, at least I don't need to have that, and I'm gonna be just fine the same way as you guys are gonna be fine. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching. The Path of Build link is in the description below, and see you in the next video.